China, known for its totalitarian government, persecution of religious groups, and horrendous human rights violations, is vying for more control within the United Nations. Why? Stay tuned to find out. I'm Robin Kinderman, and you're watching JBS Straight Talk. World leaders have gathered in New York this week for the 74th session of the UN General Assembly to seemingly tackle the world's problems. But even globalist observers are more than a little concerned about America's recent pullback from the UN. Because as the US pulls back, China has quickly moved forward with communist operatives and money to fill the void. According to an article on thenewamerican.com, one of China's operatives is Tsang-Wai-hung, who currently serves as the deputy director for China's National Narcotics Control Commission. China is pushing for his appointment as the head of the UN's Office on Drugs and Crime. Yet, the organization that he now leads has a global reputation for barbarism and horrifying human rights violations, including beating and torturing prisoners and using them for slave labor. Sounds like just the kind of guy we want in a supranational government body that's trying to take over the world. In another online article, Alex Newman addresses China's crime and scandal such as religious persecution of Uyghur Muslims, Tibetan Buddhists, Christians, and Falun Gong practitioners, and imprisonment in concentration camps, plus the death of 1.8 million citizens in 2015 caused by environmental pollution, just to name a few. He goes on to state that non-governmental organizations recently filed a complaint about China's monstrous human rights violations, and UN leaders continuously sweeping these scandals and crimes under the rug. Could this be because China is not only contributing money to the UN, but also filling the UN's leadership posts with Communist Party officials? The September-October issue of the Globalist Council on Foreign Relations chief publication Foreign Affairs wrote, Chinese nationals now head more than a quarter of the UN's specialized agencies, including the Food and Agriculture Organization, the International Telecommunication Union, the International Civil Aviation Administration, and the Industrial Development Organization. That same article basically says that the bottom line is that China is doubling down on the United Nations at a time of U.S. retrenchment. They suggest the U.S. step back up and not let China take charge. But, as President Trump stated in his speech at the UN this week, the future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. He suggested that if countries want democracy, they need to hold on to their sovereignty. Holding on to sovereignty means not participating in international organizations that seek to build world government. The U.S. needs to continue extracting itself from the United Nations. Once American taxpayers stop funding the UN, the organization will collapse and China will no longer be able to use it to further its conquest. As Alex Newman wrote, foreign policy wonks in and around Washington, D.C. are increasingly taking notice of Communist China's rapidly increasing control over the architecture of global governance. The influential Heritage Foundation, for instance, recently released a report outlining the problem and recommending ways for the U.S. government to deal with it. Unfortunately, however, none of those solutions involve abandoning the increasingly totalitarian UN system that was designed from the start to become more and more oppressive and powerful. Without the United States, the whole edifice would collapse. Rather than concerning itself with the problems within the UN, our president and Congress need to concern themselves with keeping our nation sovereign and independent. Contact Congress today and urge them to pass H.R. 204 to get us out of the UN. Helpful links are below. Until next time, take care and God bless.